I have an electrical issue on this Land Rover, and I keep blowing starter fuses, these large fuses here, and I've got several other electrical issues. Now, looking around, I have looked into this plug and I found it was partially melted. You can see this upper portion right there was completely melted. And I thought that was the issue, so I repinned one of these connectors. You can see all of that. And I am still blowing these starters. If I would have just taken 5 seconds to look, I would have seen this harness touch the manifold and melted a bunch of stuff. Now, the issues that I'm having are all within this part of the wiring loom. I just replaced this radiator and fan clutch and power steering pump. So when I had all this pushed in, I must have done something to get that harness against the exhaust manifold. You can see the original wiring looms crumbled away, but I believe this is supposed to be zip tied right here to this pipe. This whole harness needs to be replaced, but it's kind of a pain. I do have a parts car over here, but it is full of bees, and they're underneath. I can't get to them with bee spray. Wasps is what they are. So I've got a junk harness in the shop there from another car where I pulled this plug, and I've disassembled it. I've cut all this apart, and I've got basically some long pigtail plugs that I'm going to repair all this. Come on. Shop is a mess again, but this is what I got. I pulled off this car here with the junk harness. That harness will not fit the other one. It's slightly different. So this plug here, I should be able to depin. You can pull off that white piece there, and this is one of the wires that's melted. It goes all the way down to the solenoid on the starter. I did replace the starter in that. The original one lasted 222,000 some odd miles. I put in a used, no-name aftermarket that I pulled off another car. It lasted 200 miles. And then I put another one in, and it worked so far. But I think the issue is I was blowing starters because I had a small break in the wire from that exhaust, but when I replaced the radiator, it pushed it in and completely finished it off. So I'm going to try this. I'm going to carry a fire extinguisher with me if it works, just in case. Eventually I'm going to have to replace the harness. So this one here goes down to the knock sensor. Mine is completely broken right where it connects. It's two wires that go in, and then they come here to sort of abrade it, so I'm not sure how that's going to work. This is the camshaft position sensor. I have a code for a camshaft position sensor. I replaced the sensor, no change. This goes to the oil pressure switch, which I know this has been off for a while because last year, a little over a year ago, I was coming back from Utah. I was in western Kansas, and my oil light starts flickering. My initial reaction was to panic because I thought my motor was going out in the middle of nowhere. But a few thousand miles prior, I put in a Crower cam, and I knew I put it in a oil pump and a bunch of other stuff, so I knew it was good. I put it on a mechanical gauge, and when I got home, and sure enough, I got good oil pressure. So it's just a false reading from probably this wire somewhere. And this is the main one that goes down to the starter, the red one. That's the thick gauge, the one that I'm slightly worried about. If it goes up, then it'll catch the truck on fire. It didn't go through, but it looked like it melted the wiring sheath slightly. So I'm going to inspect it more, but I may just run this all the way down, then put this end in the fuse box. So that is the plan today. I've got my wire strippers. I'm going to use uninsulated butt connectors and heat shrink. And we're going to see if we can get this thing running without setting anything on fire. That's the wire that goes to the starter solenoid and up into the fuse box. That is the one, I believe that goes to the pressure, oil pressure switch. You can see some green in there, so that's been broken for a while. There's the braided wire for the knock sensor. So this got singed. The main power cable. I think I'm just going to put electrical tape on that. And then these here look like that one is the other knock sensor. That is the one of the ones that goes to the camshaft position sensor. I don't know where the other end is. So I can cut this here, but it comes up right here. That's the one. So I can pull this out, pull that white tab out, and just pop that in and just run it all the way down. That. I do have some wiring loom since it'll be out of the main loom and a ton of electrical tape, so let's start with this one. Every so often put a little tape on. going to try and run this vaguely how the factory had it, which is down this way. And then under that motor mount, you can see there's the wire there. Right there. I don't know if you can see that. That's the plug for the knock sensor. So this thing runs okay without a knock sensor. This heat shield is in the way. Had to bend it to get the starter out. All this is going to have to be zip tied up to this motor mount. I think I got to get this from the top. Well, I think I'm going to wait to zip tie this because this here is for the knock sensor. So I may as well wire that up and then zip tie it all up together. This plug has sort of a heat shield on it, but I think I'm going to run some more of it on there. And this goes into the main harness. There's no plug, so I'm just going to put an uninsulated butt connector on that and do the same on the other end and hope that works. I'm going to fish that down there and cut it so there's not too much excess. I'm going to kind of run it alongside this one. We don't need as long of a wire because the brake is right here. And we're going to splice in right here somewhere. So let's run it down, plug it in, zip tie it, and then we'll do the butt connector when we can figure out how much length we need. It's a good idea to clean out these connectors since they're used and they get oil on them. You don't want to do all this work only for a bad connection due to grease or something. We'll zip tie them all together first, and then I'll zip tie them up to something. don't have high hopes for this sensor repair. That's solid on there. This whole fix is just temporary until I get this wiring harness replaced. Of course I say that, but most of my temporary fixes are permanent. Probably not a good idea using an open flame. There's this much oil everywhere. Hopefully this electrical tape will give it some backbone so it won't break so easily. Those are really thin wires, and I think I left them too long. I don't feel like taking off all the accessories to get to the plugs. So rather than change out the whole plug, I'm just going to cut these clean and then connect them together. I may, yeah, there should be enough room on there. I don't think I'm gonna have to splice anything in. It's easy to forget to put the heat shrink on first, but you only do that once or twice before you start remembering. It's not perfect connection, but it'll definitely work. And that was way quicker than running a new plug or pigtail. Plus I've got a electrical tape over the warning light in the dash. That's how I initially fixed it. Oil pressure switch fixed. Now we have camshaft. Looks like that one. And these are pretty singed. After looking at this a little better, these it's got 3 wires down there. One is completely broken, the other 2 are singed, but I don't think they're through, so I'm just going to wrap some electrical tape around these 2. This one is kind of short the way this is, so I've created a bit of a jumper off that other pigtail already. So let me go and get these cut for some clean. That might be too singed. Yeah, you can still see it's a little too burnt. For that wire stripper to work, you need actual non-burnt rubber, otherwise it's too hard. To use this heat shrink first, there's not enough room to put the other one on. Oh well, if it doesn't work, I know where to look. I'm just gonna wrap these up. Okay, that is all the burnt wires repaired. So that's our camshaft, oil pressure. This I think is okay. Right there, actually. I think I'll put some electrical tape right there just to be safe. This thick gauge, that's what carries the power, and that's what's going to set stuff on fire. These are, for the most part, not that one, but the sensors, they're low voltage. Now let's do some wire loom in here. Kind of wrap this whole rat's nest up with electrical tape. See if we can't stick these things in there as well. Okay. Let's see if we can get them all in. It's probably not going to work. This is a more used wiring loom protector. I'll stuff some of this old stuff in there as well. Jam it all in there. Okay, I'm going to say that's good enough. Now we just need to zip tie the main loom into our two. Actually, there's some exposed wires down there. You know what? We better just, while we're here, so we don't have to do another bodge job to my bodge job. Trying to do this in front of the camera, which is difficult. It's a tight space, and I got the sun, it's like 90 degrees out, sitting on me for the past hour. But it's a kind of a fun job. I've never been a wiring guy, but I actually don't mind it. Alright, we're pretty much done. This is not pretty, but again, this is a temporary fix that will probably be permanent. It's not near the exhaust, it's all zip tied down below. I think we've got our bases covered. So now, I know it's tempting when you have a fuse that keeps blowing. You want to put in a higher amp. This is 30. Somebody might put in a 50. Don't do that. It's blowing for a reason. So that's in. Let's put this on. I don't see or smell or hear anything, so that's good. Put that off. Alright, so what happened previously, the second I turned the key, that would pop. Do have a fire extinguisher. Okay, power's on, let's see. Nothing burning, crackling, smoking. Okay. It's alive. The check engine light went out because the battery's unplugged, so I'll have to run the codes, clear them, and see if the others come back. Let's just start it again. Well, I'm going to call that job fixed. Much easier than pulling the wiring harness out of that and replacing this wiring harness. Obviously not the right way to do it. This still needs to go back on the wall. There's the bracket for that. In the meantime, I'm going to keep this unplugged just to be safe. I'm also going to drive around with a fire extinguisher until this thing has proven itself to not be a fire hazard. Well, that's it. That shouldn't have happened in the first place, but I got complacent working on this thing. I've had this for 15 years, and I have done a ton of work to this over those 15 years. So that the engine has come out, the radiators come out, I've redone the coolant system twice, so the stuff gets moved around and not put back in its spot, and that's what happens. Just gotta double check that. All right, let's go do something else.